So parents, would you ship your kid off to a foreign country? I'm asking because I recently watched the BlackPink Light Up the Sky documentary, and whether you're familiar with K-pop or not, I'm just going to tell you that this is a very famous girl group, a very talented group of 4 girls who have basically gotten famous just from traveling the world singing their songs that their company has helped them produce. They've created music videos, they've worn the outfits, they've done the performances. They just have such a stage presence. These girls are not famous because they are the children of famous people. No, they are famous because they worked hard for it. They did not go to school and stay in one place their entire life. Oh no, these girls moved continents to do what they wanted to do. So I want to just talk about that today because I'm really interested in the idea of travel, but not just that, it's more like, why do we travel? Before I get any further to this topic though, I want to thank each and every one of you. I have now reached the 100 sub count and I'm really excited because that means, wow, the channel is actually growing. And you know, the purpose of the channel is to talk about education and all the nuances of it. I'm not here to just give lessons or just talk about driver's ed. By the way, if you have a 15-year-old or if you are 15 or 16, you should definitely go watch my driver's education videos. Those have gotten a lot of views for some reason. So the reason that people who create YouTube channels are constantly asking people to like and subscribe and all that is because when you like and subscribe, that lets YouTube know that people are enjoying the videos and thus YouTube will help promote my video more. If people are watching these videos, that means that more and more people can watch them and eventually I will actually get paid to create videos like this. Remember, a subscription is completely free. All you have to do is push subscribe and like, and that just really helps. These videos, I want them to be shareable for you guys. I don't know, it's just good for educational discussion. So here's the thing, I feel like a lot of Americans don't travel very far. I mean, it is freaking expensive to leave the continent. I mean, heck, it's expensive to leave the States sometimes. Just a few years ago, my husband and I actually went to South Korea and we lived there and taught for a year. And I'll be honest, I was about, 26 years old at the time. It was almost too late because when we were over there, I kept having culture clash. Like it was honestly quite difficult because we weren't just vacationing there, okay? It wasn't all honeymoon period. When you travel to another country, I hate to say it, but you're gonna love that place because you're not there to work, you're there to have fun, you're there to sightsee, and then you go home and you think, wow, I wanna live in that place. The truth is, you probably would have a much harder time if you were working in that foreign country. Yeah, we got to travel and enjoy Korea a lot, but there were a lot of eye-opening things there that we did not see coming. When you are around another culture, you immediately are bombarded by feelings of, you're just basically ethnocentric because you tend to think,
why are these people doing that? That's a strange thing.
why can't they just be logical like us Americans or whatever country you might be from? Living in a foreign country is not easy, especially when there's a language barrier, but I will say that there is nothing else like it in the world. When you're in a new place like that, you gain such a perspective because you realize, hey, it's not all about me and my customs and my belief systems and my food. You learn a lot more about people. It's very psychological, the things that you discover. There is a misconception among families where as long as you grow up and you stay close to where you are, you're going to be perfectly safe all the time. But the thing is, if you're safe, you're not taking risks. And if you're not taking risk, well, you're not growing. In the case of the girl group BlackPink, because they're singing in Korean, people think they're actually all Korean, but actually only 3 of them are Korean. 1 of them is from Thailand. And 2 of them didn't even grow up in Korea, at least not for most of their lives. So if you're a parent, I'm just gonna come in parents right now. Let's just have a little conversation here, okay? You have a child right now, maybe 2, maybe 3. So what are you going to do if your child said something like this?
And that's when I realized I don't want to go to America and do another study there by myself. I actually want to become a singer. Like, I don't know where it came from.
What? Are you going to be okay with sending your child off to a foreign country? I know a lot of the times high schools, maybe not this year, but in past years, they have sent people off to France and Mexico and wherever for maybe a week to learn the language, or maybe a month-long study trip to learn the language, or even better, in college you might get that like just a few months away. In a few months you get a better idea of what's going on. But imagine these girls decided, you know, I want to perform in the K-pop world, but but what it takes is leaving your comfort zone. One of them lived in New Zealand, one of them lived in Australia. They moved to Korea and spent not just days, weeks, or months, but years away from their family. This isn't just sleepaway camp. If you're training to be in a K-pop group, you are constantly you eat, sleep, and breathe the music and the dancing. The process is all about weeding people out. And as a parent, you have no control. You probably barely get to communicate with your child. Now, that is an extreme case. Most people aren't going to send their child off to be in a group and just hope and pray that they become famous so they can pay the bills. That's a very extreme version, but still, it's very eye-opening to me. I just think it's wonderful that these girls have started to become known in America, but for a lot of United States children, it's unrelatable because most of us don't grow up in families where the family says, yeah, honey, we're gonna send you off to England, Somalia, or Eastern Europe, or even China. We're gonna send you off there for 2 or 3 years and just make sure you get educated and you become international and worldly, then come back to us. From my experience from being a part of a family and just observing other families, Americans are very close. Like, they want to keep their kids close because the world is a dangerous place. How can you ensure that your kid's safe? A lot of people are afraid to send their kids to camp, but I'll admit that I'm actually a little bit, I don't want to say envious, that isn't right, but I can't help but be maybe a little envious of the girls, not because they're just super adorable and super famous, but because they are multilingual. I was not sent off to a foreign country and encouraged. No one said, you better learn a foreign language because you'll be more well-rounded and you'll get a job. Nobody pushes that. If you're a foreign language teacher and you're watching this, I would be biased. I would be pushing that on your students, saying, hey, you're going to boost your confidence. You're going to be more awesome if you learn another language or two, but let's not get crazy now. I want to talk a little bit more about what Koreans do and what I experienced from teaching Korean students. On the one hand, Koreans do seem very family oriented because a lot of the times kids won't go off and buy their own apartment at age 18. They tend to stick around until they're married, and a lot of the times the grandmother will either be around a lot or maybe they might even live with the family. If you're Korean and you're watching this, feel free to add to this or correct me if I'm just a bit off. So yeah, they're family oriented, but on the other hand, if their child gets to be a certain age, they will say, we need to look into some international programs, and well, I'll miss you, but you need to be gone for 2 to 4 years learning, and I'm just gonna, I'll just talk to you on the phone or through the computer. My mom would not have liked sending an 8 to 10-year-old me off to a foreign country. She would not have felt safe about that. She just wouldn't have. And some of you watching might be like, yeah, I would never do that. I'm not going to send my kid, or maybe you want to. While we were teaching abroad, both of us taught in separate English academies, and at my husband's school, he met a student who was of high school age, and his English name was James, and the student said, well, my parents just recently moved across town because they wanted me to attend this other school in Busan, South Korea. They relocated. There probably are some American families that would say, we want little Billy, Bob, Joe, Susie, whatever. Those are cliche names, sorry about that. We want our kid to go to a certain school. We have to live in the district. We're going to move. That happens. But then this same student was sent to, now mind you, he actually knows English very well, but they shipped him off to Maryland, I think Baltimore, Annapolis, somewhere like that. I followed him on and off through Instagram. He's been there for a very long time, and I think, man, I'm not a parent, but if I was, I don't know if I would want my kid to be over there, but he's actually becoming American. You know what I mean? Like, if you send your kids somewhere else, they're going to adopt some of the values and styles and habits of the people in that country. So I mean, think about that. Do you want to send your kid off and have them basically, probably, very likely change their outlook on life? For my very first ESL class, I met 2 really awesome Korean girls, and they spoke very little English. One of them actually knew more Spanish than English because she had lived in Argentina for 1 year, and she was 17 when I met her. And I said, oh, so you're Korean, but you went to Argentina. That they seem like 2 totally unrelated places, because doesn't everybody want to come to America? I mean, come on, everybody. Nah, maybe. I don't know. But she was there, and she said, yes, her parents thought that she should learn Spanish. So they sent her there for a year. And of course, when you're immersed in that culture, you're gonna learn some of the language, whether you want to or not. And she was a good student, so she learned quite a bit of Spanish. But she said even the little children over there would look at her and say, China, 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 are you Chinese? Sorry guys, if you're from Korea or Japan or a number of other Asian countries and you come over to the Western world, everyone's gonna think you're Chinese, at least at first. They're just going to, because you know, we don't travel enough to know the nuances, okay? So what I'm trying to get at is, I think that even though it's difficult and it might feel weird, I think it's good to at least consider sending students off to, at least to be around another culture. America's got pockets of culture everywhere. I mean, we are our own culture, but there is something about when we can, when we're able to, living in another country. I know it's not for everybody. Not everybody has to do this, but if you go to another country and just spend some time there, whether learning the language or just working any random job or working with the people, you're going to be more well-rounded. You're going to be a better person to work with. You're going to understand people so much more. Living in another country, it's going to give you those struggles. You're going to learn from them though. It's freaking hard. I mean, there were a lot of things I probably thought and said that I definitely regret, like, oh, I was not very patient with people. I didn't understand. I got frustrated when they didn't understand my broken Korean because it was very broken. So I want to know, comment below, would you travel and live in a foreign country for a while just for the sake of education and experience? If you're a parent, this one's for the parents. If you're a parent, would you send your child to a foreign country for a year to learn that language? Would you do it? Or would you feel too overprotective to even imagine such a thing? Or would you just travel with them? Guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Please like and share and comment and all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time.